Hello and welcome to the second part of my full moon in Scorpio total lunar eclipse video. This is the second part that I'm doing for the astrology part. The second part, I've already done the first part, which was the tarot part of the reading, and this is going to be the astrology, my intuitive take on the astrology that is happening at this time. So thank you very much for coming over and tuning in and pressing play. Welcome to those of you who have not been here before, and a big welcome back to those of you who have been here before and have watched my videos and liked and thumbs them up for me. I do really appreciate that. Could you do that now as well, like thumbs it up now, because it just helps to grow the channel. It helps to let YouTube, the platform that it's on, know that of course somebody is actually taking notice of the channel, which is what helps to grow the channel. So that's why people are always saying on YouTube, like our videos, because it just helps get that algorithm to notice the actual channel itself. So with all that being said, I'm going to start the reading off with the Moonology cards, and we have got a lot of them this month, this full moon total lunar eclipse. It is a big energy, a huge energy that we're in at this time. The fact that it's in Scorpio and it's with the South Node as well is really big releasing energy. It's a full moon, so it's culminating energy in itself anyway, because full moons are always about releasing and letting things go. But the South Node is also about releasing and letting things go, as is the Scorpio energy itself in many ways as well. So we're going to start off with the full moon energy here in Scorpio, and that is saying it's a time to release the negativity. And there's going to be a lot of negativity. This is a real purging moon. This is the moon that is going to really clean out lots of skeletons in cupboards, lots of emotional, what I call the emotional graveyard stuff, the stuff that we bury deep down and we hope that we'll never see it again. Well, this new moon, sorry, full moon total lunar eclipse is bringing it all up to the surface, whether it's from our childhood, whether it's from our recent past or our like generational past. This is things that are going to come out from nowhere, possibly things that have totally been buried and forgotten, or at least we thought and hoped they had. So we're in fixed moon energy, which is all about holding on to that vision, not letting something sway us. Fixed moon or fixed energy is about that kind of stability for something, keeping something, an idea that we have, without changing it, without like staying focused on the original thought or the original vision. So that's the fixed energy. And then we have the full moon itself, which is all about surrendering to the divine, the surrendering, the releasing, the culmination, closing out of something, which is followed by the actual full moon eclipse, which is saying that the conclusions are within reach. Full moon energy is always, not full moon, eclipse energy, sorry, is always about change, which is what it's saying up here. I've got all the relevant cards behind me, the Scorpio transform energy, Pluto transformation, 8th house, endings and beginnings. So there's a lot of potential in this moon as well. A lot of potential for change, a lot of potential for things to reach a certain, what's the word I'm looking for, a certain outcome. So, and it is going to be a blood red moon as well. So anybody who's awake early hours in the morning has the potential to see this, but here in the UK, unfortunately, the moon will have set and the sun will be rising before we actually get to see the full glory of the total lunar eclipse. So it's also a supermoon as well, so that's adding to the intensity of this energy. Whenever there's a supermoon, it's closest to the earth. The moon is our emotional body, it's our feelings, our soul energy on a collective level, so we're all affected by it in some way, and the emotions are running high. It is going to be really intense over these coming weeks. We're already in the energy. We've been in the energy for about the past month, and we've already been in the energy of the Taurus solar eclipse as well, so that's kind of adding to it. So it's like a double whammy now. We're kind of in both of those energies at the same time. So don't let your past hold you back is the South Node energy here, because it's the South Node that is causing the eclipse. It's so close to the South Node that it's a total eclipse, rather than with the solar eclipse that we had in Taurus. It was a partial eclipse because the moon and the sun were not near enough to the North Node, which was also in Taurus. So those are the energies that we are dealing with there, and I pulled a card from the Spirit Animal Oracle for us earlier as well, and I got the Snake Spirit. It came out reversed, which means basically that it's a even stronger message. Take notice of the intensity of the message itself as well, and it is all about a time to heal, which I think is really quite relevant at this time. It's like, you know, the snake shedding that skin. And I think in my reading I actually relate to it more as a phoenix coming out of the flames, out of the ashes. So we have Snake Spirit. Time to heal, and the oracle message is all of us need healing at times, and when Snake Spirit appears, it is time to repair, renew and replenish yourself and your vulnerable heart. Self-care and maintenance work are needed so that your vitality can arise. Give yourself the space to nourish your own well-being. This is kind of the message that was coming through for the tarot reading that I did earlier today as well. So if you're interested in the tarot reading, give that a watch and see what came out there. So vulnerability is necessary for friendships and partnerships to work, which means all of us will have tender emotions at times. Be gentle with yourself and others now. Shed the past and step into a new way of being, for vitality is rising in you. This might be a good time to honour the work you have done to heal, grow and repair any damage within you, within those that you care about and within your community. Celebrate together how far all of you have come in your healing journey and all that you have created. It's quite apt for the times that we're going through at this time, I think, after everything we've been through in the last 2 years. Unburden yourself or anything that no longer supports wellness, prosperity, positive relationships and well-being, and open the door for healing to occur, which is very apt because of the South Node energy in itself. So as soon as it came out in reverse, it's talking about protection message. So no matter how much you may have lost or how you have been disappointed, you are called by Snake Spirit to shed the past and practice radical self-acceptance now. Only by forgiving yourself can you move on, regardless of whether anyone else is ready for healing. When your tender new skin first becomes exposed, you may feel uncomfortable. Love yourself and remain vulnerable anyway. You have been weak, but now you are becoming strong and developing wisdom, and you will do better in the future. Snake spirit Mercury retrograde. Snake spirit reminds you that hearts can be as easily wounded. Apologies and amends go a long way. Self-forgiveness for your role in what happened can help you heal. That's a big message here as well at this time, I feel, particularly with all the Neptune energy that's actually connecting with this energy as well. Remember, it is the one who has been wounded who often has the greatest power to help others heal. So that's the message, and that's my cats that you can hear hissing at each other. Behave and stay where you are. Leave her alone. So I'm going to put that up here. Mother cat is in a particularly stroppy state of mind at the moment, chasing her daughter. Poor Mib. Not fair, is it, Mib? So the full moon total lunar eclipse, and I'm going to call it, because I keep getting the word purgatory coming into my head, and I kind of feel as though there is this purgatory energy. Purgatory being explained, because I looked it up, because I kind of knew what it meant, but I wasn't 100% certain, so I thought I would see what it was defined as. And it says the place where the soul is cleansed of all impurities, as Dante described in his great poem, The Divine Comedy. And today purgatory can refer to any place or situation in which suffering and misery are felt to be sharp but temporary. And I kind of feel as though there is a purgatory kind of element to this with this Pluto energy. It's kind of like purging the purgatory out of us, if you like. It's like our own personal hell. We've all been in our own personal hell, and this is kind of a time to release ourselves from that, from our own personal kind of prison, if you like. State of purgatory, which is a state of mind as well, a mindset, an idea of what is hell for us on earth. So it's kind of purging all the toxins and all the poisons and all the nasty stuff, which is also kind of like a global experience or a global event that is occurring at this time as well, but I'll get into that a bit more as I do the readings. So the divine masculine sun energy opposes, as ever, the divine feminine moon energy during the time of a full moon. So this full moon total lunar eclipse is occurring on the 16th of May 2022 in the deep, dark, shadowy, emotional underworld of the fixed water sign Scorpio. It is happening at the 25 degrees 17 minute point at 5:13 hours UK time. It will be different for other parts of the world, other locations, so check that out for the time zone that you're living in. If you have any planets or points from the 17 to the 29 degrees 59 of any of the other fixed signs, especially where the sun is in opposition at 180 degrees of Taurus, or square at 90-degree angles of Aquarius and Leo, this total lunar eclipse is going to have a major effect on your lives over the next 6 months. 6 months and onwards. It's going to have a knock-on effect that is going to take us right through into 2023 and possibly even beyond, depending on how strongly it affects you on a personal natal chart as well. It will also be hitting to a lesser degree the follow-on mutable signs at the 0 to 01 degrees of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius and Pisces, although anyone in Pisces with anything at the same degrees of the fixed signs between 17 to 29 degrees 59 are also under this total lunar eclipse full moon in Scorpio spotlight, because there's a lot of activity happening in Neptune as well. Sorry, happening with Neptune in Pisces as well. So anyone with anything in the early degrees of the cardinal signs of Aries and the later degrees of Capricorn are also going to be affected. So definitely check out your own personal natal chart as well. And for anybody who's interested, there will be a link in the description box down below for you to go and do that. Because it always helps to have a bigger understanding of what is taking place. So, Tau Pussycat. Especially, yeah, check out your natal chart for the house placements as well, of all of those signs and degrees I mentioned, as this is where the total lunar eclipse full moon in Scorpio is going to show itself for you on a personal level. For the collective, however, it's going to be experienced and felt hugely intensely in the 8th house of Scorpio, which governs sex, the genitalia, the reproductive organs, the creation of life and the destruction of life. It also rules over poisons, toxins, corruption, betrayal, secrets, other people's money, taxes, tyranny, dictatorships, and ultimate power. These are all themes we are going to be seeing and hearing a lot about over these coming 6 months from now until November, which I believe is going to set off a whole set of dominoes, which will continue to carry us through into 2023 until the South Node leaves Scorpio. I also believe it's going to also be not just the South Node leaving Scorpio, but also the Pluto leaving Capricorn as well. I think that that's also going to play a big part in all of this upcoming energy. So these Pluto themes, Tau Pussycat, are all very much a part of this total lunar full moon eclipse, as Pluto, the ruler of this eclipse, is also being very strongly highlighted at this time. Yeah, I know you want lots of fuss. I am a bit busy. So a full moon lunar eclipse occurs when the Earth moves between the Sun and the Moon. So that's cutting off the light of the Sun from the face of the Moon in order to create an eclipse. So this lunar eclipse is going to be a total one, as the South Node of the Moon is so close at 22 degrees 22 minutes, which itself is a powerful symbolic master number as well, which represents spiritual building through mastery. And this is also where the North Node is opposite in Taurus, having just been responsible for the previous solar eclipse at 10 degrees. However, being further away at that time, it was just a partial eclipse. This closeness of the South Node to the Moon is also the reason why I'm taking the orb of influence back to 17 degrees. Because normally it would be like 15 degrees, because the Sun and the Moon are both at 25 degrees. So I would take it back to, 20 degrees, 15 degrees, sorry. But I'm taking it back to the 17 degrees point, as I think and I feel quite strongly that that is like the South Node at that 22 mark is playing such a huge part in this as well, that you have to include that part of the orb as well. So yeah, so it's best not to ignore it, basically. And the North and the South Node is known as Ketu, which is the tail of the dragon, and it's our collective karmic past, which also is found on a personal level. So we all have the North and the South Node somewhere in our chart as well, which is always another good reason to check out your own chart to see what's happening with the North and South Node. So depending where they appear in your own natal chart, The South Node is the area of the energy we feel most at home in. It's where we are drawn back to when we feel unsafe in our world. It is familiar, security, our comfort zone. It is also the energy we are needing to let go of, as we have learnt as much as we can from it on a soul level of understanding. And it's that reason that we have to release it, and we have to move on into new territory, into new ways of understanding things. So at this time, in order to grow, we need to head towards the new, the unknown and unfamiliar territory of the North Node, which is in Taurus. And of course we've got Uranus in Taurus as well, so everything is changing within that domain, the very physical domain of the world that we live in. So this total lunar eclipse is also a supermoon, when the moon is at its closest point to the earth. So this is going to be a hugely, immensely emotional one, which is going to have massive waves of intensity behind everything we do for the next 6 months coming. Not least because it is happening in a deeply intense sign that is represented by a scorpion, a creature with a sting in its tail. Although it is a water sign, Scorpio was originally ruled by Mars, fiery, passionate Mars. Put these two elements together and you get hot, steamy, smouldering passion, also known as lust. And lust is a very scorpionic trademark. And just like its other ruler, headstrong warrior Mars, Scorpio does not hold back on what they feel lustful about or passionate about. Sex and power is said by some to be a great aphrodisiac. Aphrodite, where the word aphrodisiac comes from, is also Venus, which is the opposing sign of Scorpio as well. And that's where we get the term aphrodisiac from. And that's not to say Scorpios don't feel deeply. They do. So deeply, in fact, that often they will not allow themselves to dive that far into their true emotions for fear of drowning or losing themselves to another. Scorpio and the 8th house is the emotional graveyard, where we bury all those painful, unwanted experiences in the hope they will never resurface. This total lunar eclipse is about to see the rise of our emotional skeletons as what has long been buried, denied, kept in the dark and hidden even from ourselves and others around us, as well as a collective whole, is about to go through the biggest purging, cleansing and release of dirt, muck, sewage that we have seen or experienced in our lifetime. And this is particularly going to be around the rich, the famous and powerful. The world is about to get a glimpse into the depravity of how far they are willing to go to achieve and maintain power, riches and control. So another thing with Scorpio energy as well is it does like to shock. It does have this like shock element about it. It kind of, in a way, gets off on being kind of shocking and like horrifying in a way. It likes to see people's reaction. What will somebody's reaction be if I do something really horrifying, or I say something that's really crude or just shocking? So that is another element of the Scorpio energy, which is why we may get to see a lot of shocking like revelations around this time as well. So this full moon total lunar eclipse is luckily being supported by some very lovely alignments. One of the most powerful being the sextile with a retrograde Pluto, now at 28 degrees 32 minutes in the sign that governs the rich and famous, the hierarchies, the dynastic families and the monarchies. So that's the Capricorn energy. And that's another reason why I say that I feel that this is going to continue right the way through into 2023, when Pluto finally moves out of Capricorn. Or moves out of Capricorn even for a while. I think he moves out of Capricorn and then moves back in again. So we get that kind of break, and then it kind of goes back in to make sure that he's finished the job that he was meant to be doing, which is basically changing this hierarchical system that we've been living under for a long, long time. So those that have ruled over the rest of us from the top of the pyramidal structure, out of the spotlight, in the shadows and darkness of their own private worlds. Pluto, as the ruling planet of this total lunar eclipse, is also in a harmonious trine with both the Sun, the North Node, as well as Sedna at 28 degrees 58 minutes or 29 degrees of Taurus. On the other side of him, Pluto is creating another sextile with both Neptune at 24 degrees 56 or almost 25 degrees and Mars at 23 degrees 25 in Pisces. So Pluto is kind of in between these two sextile energies. He's got the full moon total lunar eclipse that he's attached himself to with this sextile energy at this time, and then he's also connected to the Neptune and Mars energy, and the Mars energy is also connected, or the Mars and the Neptune energy is also connected to this full moon total eclipse as well. And we've also still got Sedna at 28 degrees as well. I've talked about Sedna before, and I did a little bit about her last eclipse, because that time she was still connecting with Pluto as well, and she still is connecting with Pluto, and of course there is that trine with the Sun, the North Node and Pluto as well. So Pluto himself is really involved in this whole full moon total eclipse, because he is of course the ruler of the energy, but he's also making so many different connections at the same time that it's taking place. So his energy is really very highlighted. It's very, what's the word? Not just magnified, but it's kind of very like encompassing. It's a very encompassing energy at this time, especially as it's also connecting with the Sun, the North Node, and the Sedna energy, which is that energy of kind of transcending beyond things. And Pluto has that kind of energy as well, that kind of mysterious, you know, the raw, creative, destructive energy, the mystery of it all as well on some level. So this is the furthest that Neptune has been so far in his 165-year cycle, and he's moving into new waters as we explore new depths about ourselves and our interconnectedness to each other, the planet we live on and the universe we inhabit. This time in our lives, the connections being made with Sedna, the Inuit girl, who transcended beyond her own limiting beliefs through the act of betrayal and pain to become goddess of the oceans, is in the last degrees of Taurus. And there is a lot of last degree energy at this time, so it is like endings are occurring. There's Neptune's in the kind of like coming into the 25 degrees at this time. Sedna, the Sun, is going to be moving into Gemini in on the 20th, I think it is, of May. So that's another change of shift of energy as well. So that's another ending, coming out the Taurus season into the Gemini season. There's a lot of kind of endings and beginnings that are happening around this time, and a lot of the planets are in those later stages of the sign that they're in, even though they're not going to leave the sign that they're in, some of them, for a while, because they are still going to retrograde back over those last degrees again, some of them going further back than others, but they're all kind of getting towards the last stages. They're all in the last decan, shall we say, of the, because there's 3 decans in each sign, like 30 degrees in a sign, and each sign is divided into 10 separate degrees, and the early degrees is where the planet is learning about the energy, so it's kind of a younger energy. It's a bit like in tarot you call it the page energy, I suppose. And then you've got the middle energy where it's more kind of like familiar. It's getting used to that energy, it understands that energy better. And then when you get to the last 10 degrees, it's kind of moving more into a maturer energy. It's learned what it needs to learn through that sign, and we've kind of learnt what we need to learn through the experiences that we've had with that energy as well. So as it leaves the in that sign, sorry, whichever sign it's in, as the planets leave it and move into the new energy, there's this kind of pull and push kind of feeling of like, you know, it's needing to change the energy, it's needing, and that's when it starts to like learn something new again. So that's kind of where we're at this time, kind of in a whole picture, in a way, a whole picture kind of form. Is we're getting to the ending of things here. Even though it's going to take a while, it is occurring. We are maturing, we are growing through this and evolving, even though it may not seem like it. So Pluto, Lord of the Underworld, where the mysteries of life beyond death are held, is now retrograde in the last degrees of Capricorn, along with Neptune, another planet of the deep, fathomless, mysterious, beyond the depths of the subconscious, who is being activated by Mars in Pisces as the central point of these two sextile energies. There is here a feeling of a deep sense of the mystical, the magical. So Neptune is also in this sextile as well, because Neptune is in between Pluto on one side and the Sun and the North Node and Sedna at the other 60-degree point as well. So Pluto's in his own kind of central point of being sextile with the lunar eclipse energy and the Neptune energy, and the Neptune is also at its own kind of central point of these two sextiles as well. So there's a lot of sextile energy, and sextile energy is very easygoing, kind of supportive energy, and helping us along rather than it being hard and difficult and having to kind of struggle with the energy. It's quite easy, it flows, it's a comfortable energy, it's an easy energy to work with. But the thing about all of these energies on some level is they are dealing with the unknown, or they're dealing with the mysterious, they're dealing with the things that we can't see, they're dealing with the things that are yet to kind of come into form, if you like. So they're still in that kind of unaware state. I don't know if unaware is the right word to use there. That kind of state of still not being 100% certain, because it's not solid. It hasn't taken like a solid form. So there is this kind of like uncertainty in some ways about it all. Because of the nature of the planets that we're dealing with, really. But those sextiles are helping us to just kind of accept it and to kind of move with it and to go with it rather than kind of resist it or push it away. So it's on some level, it's kind of helping us to open up to the unknown itself and accept the unknown as part of our lives. So yeah, there is here a feeling of a deep sense of the mystical, the magical, the unknown, and of the spiritual. An inner calling to move towards something that is yet to be seen, yet to be understood, something profound that is still in the creational, foundational stage of its making. Another word that keeps coming into my mind around this energy is resurrection. Like something is being brought back to life that we believed was long gone and buried, like new energy is being breathed into an old hope, wish, desire, something we have put faith in, that is suddenly springing back into life. I'm feeling this mostly on a collective scale, although some of us could experience this as much more of a personal event, or even both together. Now more than ever, this feels like a time when the miraculous could occur at any moment. Especially so as we also have Neptune and Mars in an outer sign conjunction with Jupiter, who's now moved at 0 degrees 59 or 01 degrees. Basically, he's crossed over that axis point, the 00 point of Aries, and he did that on the 11th of May. And this point on the zodiac wheel is the most important point. It's like the start. It's like Jupiter is now on his new 12-year cycle. He's starting his whole new cycle afresh. He's finished the last cycle, he's moved into Aries, and we're going to start seeing things happening on the world stage as well, because that's what the Axis Mundi is about, which is also why anybody who's got anything in those cardinal signs at the early degrees at this time of this full moon total eclipse are going to really pick up on the energy here. It's going to have quite a large effect on you on a personal level. So this is also about new beginnings, creative pursuits. Again, check where this 0 degree of Aries falls for you personally, as this is the house energy that Jupiter is going to be amplifying and focusing on for the following year. So Jupiter has a 12-year cycle. So whatever was taking place in your life back in June 2010, when Jupiter last entered Aries, will be expanded on and increased upon from a new level of action. Also, back then in 2010, that was when it all kicked off, like the Arab uprisings, I can't remember exactly, I think they were called the Arab uprisings, but anyway, it was when like a lot of tension erupted around the whole Middle East area, really. And a lot of that was due to the fact that Jupiter moved into Aries, but it was also due to the fact that Uranus was there at the same time as well. So it's like that change, that revolutionary energy was really ramped up. And this time Uranus isn't there when Jupiter moves into Aries, but he's moving into Aries, which is the sign ruled by Mars, so that in itself is quite a ramped up energy compared to having come out of Pisces, which is much more laid back, much more subdued, much more peace loving and compassionate and wanting the best for the world in general. But now Mars is also going to join Jupiter very soon as well, so that's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen. Again, the Axis Mundi, when it crosses over that 0 point and he's back in his home sign, Mars is going to feel refreshed, he's going to be reborn, he's going to be alive and vital. At the moment, he's making his way through the last stages of Pisces, so things could be quite sluggish, we could be feeling quite exhausted at times, and just generally kind of laid back and kind of just yeah, not really connecting with that vital energy at this time. We could be feeling extra tired, extra like almost to the point of, I wouldn't say boredom, but the point of kind of what's the point, what is the point of it, or what, you know, why do I need to do this? Why do I need to do that? Can I just like leave it for now? Or, you know, there's this kind of energy of wanting to put things off, wanting to not necessarily focus on what's important for us at this time. A lot more of wanting to just kind of transcend, really, and just kind of being that in that kind of more open, out there, daydreamy, creative kind of space. And we may find ourselves kind of doing things and then kind of just drifting off and just kind of forgetting what it was that we were doing and having to kind of come back and, You know, maybe if we were reading a book, we need to reread what we've just read because we've just gone off into a whole new, like, imaginary space in ourselves as well. So there's also a lot of that going on at this time. But when Mars changes signs, that is going to make a big difference, because Mars and Jupiter are going to connect. And so it would be, like I was saying, it would be interesting to see what happens, because the last time Jupiter was there with Uranus, he kind of fired all of that up, and Mars does have the possibility and the potential to reactivate these kind of energies, particularly when Jupiter's back there as well. So so yeah, all the cardinal signs are going to feel this, particularly you Cancerians. You're going to feel it, as Black Moon Lilith also recently passed over the Cancer Capricorn axis, which is also part of the world axis as well. All the cardinal signs, it's that cross for the cardinal signs of the world axis. And Black Moon Lilith at 3 degrees 28 minutes is in a tight square with Jupiter as well, so all of that energy is being expanded on and magnified and really kind of brought up for us to really kind of look at and take notice of. And this square has slowly been coming together since last, or just before Jupiter and Neptune conjuncted in mid-April, around about the 12th of April. So that square started to come into play as well at the same time. And during that time, Black Moon Lilith was just leaving Gemini as well. So now she's moved into Cancer, and so she's got the added addition from Jupiter in Aries, and it feels like a very strong energy of kind of being true to who we are. And as I mentioned previously in a different write-up, I also feel that it's got a lot to do with the issues surrounding motherhood, even fatherhood as well, because of the fact that you've got the mother-father axis with the Cancer Capricorn there as well. And of course Capricorn has also got Pholus in the early degrees as well, so that's also going to be having an effect as Black Moon Lilith moves further into Cancer. She will start making a opposition with that energy as well, which I will talk more about at a later date. But at this time, you know, the mother-father energy is quite interesting at this moment as well, because we've already got, like in America, there's a huge debate that has come out around the whole abortion idea. It's all suddenly been brought to life, so to speak. Cancer being the mother energy, being the womb energy, the womb of the universe is the Cancer energy. So it's very fitting for this full moon lunar total eclipse in Scorpio as well, because Scorpio also rules both life and death, creation and destruction, as well as transformation. So there are huge changes happening here as well. And of course, the US natal chart, still that 27 degrees 33 minutes is being connected by Pluto. That has not stopped at all yet. That's still being conjuncted. And he's making his way back across that again, so big transformation happening around so many of those life-death kind of issues around this time as well. So the triple conjunction with Mars, Neptune and Jupiter are all harmonious, trine aspects with this total lunar full moon eclipse, which also means they are all sextile the Sun and the North Node. Both of those alignments with the full moon being very positive, it will help us find it easier to release any held back emotional expression we have been doing our best to conceal and hide. There definitely could be a lot of tears and outpourings of repressed grief, anger and fear, leading up to, during and after this full moon in Scorpio, with the possible odd surprise thrown in there as well. It's like I said, there is this kind of shock element when it comes to Scorpio. Not in quite the same way with Uranus, but more, how can you put it, like Uranus is more Uranus is more changing your environment and your kind of like the way you think, or like your mind space more, whereas Scorpio is much more shocking on a kind of personal level. It's more of a personal thing than Uranus. So Neptune, who's now conjunct Mars, is kind of given an even stronger underlying expression of this like spiritual battle, really. It's kind of like Mars being the warrior and Neptune being the spiritual aspect. It's kind of bringing out this more spiritual battle which is being fought at this time in our history. With Neptune being sheltered on both sides, there is this protected quality to this aspect, particularly with it being Mars conjunct and Jupiter now being in the sign of the warrior himself. So the Neptune energy is kind of being, it feels like contained, well, not just contained, but kind of protected. It's like this protective barrier around it somehow. Almost like it's like an impenetrableness in some ways, like the faith that you have is very strong at this time. It's like almost like it's unquestionable in a way. Within ourselves, it's like we feel what we feel very deeply, and not everybody's going to feel the same thing, but it's this kind of like standing up for your own beliefs, if you like, being who you on a integral level, what you stand for, what you believe in, what your faith is, what you put your faith in. And that is all somehow being, it feels like in this protected bubble somehow. Yeah, like this kind of impenetrable, even when things are falling apart around us and the world's going insane and everything's kind of like crazy, it kind of feels as though there's still this kind of inner strength, this inner impenetrable faith in ourselves in a way as well. So there is this optimistic, hopeful and courageous quality here to stand on our own 2 feet in our own shoes, but also to be aware of how it feels for others less fortunate than ourselves, who are only starting to see and grasp things from a different perspective, as well as the need to be true to who we are and what we believe is the right thing for us as individuals, which is something that will become even stronger within us as Mars moves closer to both Neptune and Jupiter over the coming days. So the 18th of May is going to be an interesting time as Mars and Neptune become exact conjunct at 24 degrees 59, or 25 degrees basically, while also being semi-sextile, which is that 30 degrees orb of separation with Saturn, and also exact at the same degrees in Aquarius. So Mars and Neptune are going to be exact in Pisces, and then in Aquarius, which is where Saturn is at this time, he's also going to be in the exact 24 degrees 59 minutes as well in this semi-sextile. So Saturn in Aquarius is about the people. He's also interestingly in this ongoing T-square with both the moon's nodes as well at this time as well. So during this lunar eclipse, he's also making very strong squares with both the south node and the north node, as well as the moon and the sun, of course. T-square is very powerful energy, because they're an energy of kind of like things get flowing backwards and forwards between, say, like the south node and the north node, or the sun and the moon. The energy's like opposing, so they're going backwards and forwards. But then they also have this outlet, which is the Saturn energy. So the Saturn energy is quite strong at this time as well. And Saturn is it's like the opposing forces on some level, like, because the, you know, the north node is where we're heading. It's the karmic future, if you like, whereas the south node is the karmic past. It's what we need to let go of. So there's this kind of battle between the old and the new, the kind of like, you know, are we going to stay in the old energy, or are we going to move forward into this new energy? And Saturn is kind of like quite a restrictive energy. He's kind of very he's the harsh taskmaster. He's the one that kind of makes things difficult for us. But he's also the one who rewards us as well when we do put the time and the energy and the effort into kind of doing what it is that we need to do. We get the rewards back for having done it. So there is this battle between these opposing forces, which is going to become even more highlighted as both the sun and the moon are in strong direct, and it's less than a 1 degree T-square, with the planet of restrictions, harsh experiences to learn. Of course, it's karmic lessons as well as commitment as well. It's like, what are we going to commit ourselves to? We need to commit to something. So, you know, it's like with the north and the south node, and the sun being with the north node in Taurus at this time as well. It's kind of really highlighting that this is the path to follow, this is the way to go down. But then emotionally there is also this tug and this pull from the south node to kind of stay in that energy and not allow ourselves to move into the future as well. And Saturn is kind of keeping that kind of, how can you put it, almost like keeping the status quo. Really, that's how I kind of see it. It's like keeping the status quo there. It's like not allowing things to shift too far to one side or too far to the other in a way. Kind of trying to kind of keep things balanced, but like this sense of stability, but also this sense of can be this sense as well of like that restrictive energy of us not, because it's Aquarius, and Aquarius is also about the mind, the higher consciousness, the new, the future. It's like holding things back. It's holding back what we could already in some way be living when it comes to our lifestyles, how we're still living from this kind of traditional idea of how things work and how things have to always be, if you like. I'm going to express it best. It's like holding, it feels like holding back the tide of change, holding it back, not allowing us to kind of get too far ahead of ourselves in some ways. So it can be a good thing, and it can also be very restrictive and very what's the word, restrictive and very kind of narrow, very narrow in our experiences. So Another major energy affecting this full moon total lunar eclipse is that of Mercury retrograde, and he's been retrograde since the 10th of May as well, at 4 degrees 50 of Gemini. And Mercury has now returned to 3 degrees 37 and is both conjunct the Sun and opposing the Moon. He's also sextile Jupiter, which will be getting stronger and more powerful as he moves back towards their exact connection at 0 degrees 42 minutes on the 20th of May. Which is going to expand all of this kind of retrograde Mercury energy in itself. So there's a lot for us to deal with at this time, not just this total lunar eclipse in Scorpio, which is a big enough energy as it is. We've also got to deal with this kind of retrograde Mercury, which anything can happen, anything can go wrong, plans can go awry. Anything that you thought was set in stone was definitely going to happen doesn't necessarily mean it will happen. So, and because he's also sextile, that Jupiter magnification energy, it's really kind of bringing it into this extremes. Like, it feels like it's going to be extremes. If something goes wrong, then it's going to be in an extreme way at this time, especially as it's moving back towards the exact connection. So the 20th of May is a day to kind of watch out for, leading up to the 20th of May as well, so any time from now really. But this is going to be followed by his exact conjunction with the Sun at 0 degrees and 43 minutes. So literally 1 minute later, Gemini on the 21st of May. So although it's 1 minute later, because Mercury is retrograde, he's moving a lot slower. So that's going to take through till the next day for that to take place. But he's going to Cazimi across the heart of our star again. And this is when the Earth passes by Mercury. And during his retrograde, so during this retrograde, when Mercury is retrograde, the Earth passes by Mercury. Both Earth and Mercury are on the same side of the Sun. And so this is known as an inferior or interior conjunction. And during this time we can gain greater insight on problems or decisions we need to take with more clarity and pinpoint accuracy. So this is all occurring just before Mercury re-enters Taurus as well, which he's going to do on the 23rd. So a lot of backwards and forwards shifting energy that is occurring at this time. He's also just coming off of a long trine with Pluto, which began on the 23rd of April. So it is a long trine, but it's going to finish around about the 18th of June, I think. So again, like, Mercury's retracing his steps, so he is also going to come back into this trine again. So it's like this trine actually isn't ever going to stop. It doesn't actually stop at all. So just as he's coming off of this trine with Pluto that's been ongoing since 23rd of April, he then retrogrades and moves back towards this trine with Pluto, so that's going to get even more powerful as well, and it's still going to be occurring when he stations direct on the 3rd of June as well. It will eventually end on the 18th of June, which is a few hours before Mercury comes out of his own shadow as well. So it will have roughly been about 2 months by the time that Mercury and Pluto actually kind of pull apart from each other. And during this whole period of time, Mercury will also be conjunct Sedna as well, which is becoming exact on the 24th of May at 29 degrees 5 of the Bull. So again, another very interesting period of time. This period after this total lunar eclipse is going to be quite active. There's going to be a lot of kind of shifting of energies and a lot of different connections happening, particularly with Mercury as well, and it's conjunct with Sedna as well, because Sedna is that transcending beyond. So there's a kind of what's the word I want to use here with Mercury? Again, it could be that a case of kind of like otherworldliness in a way, of kind of like connecting into something that's kind of beyond the norm, beyond the kind of day-to-day, because Mercury is all about day-to-day actions, like almost like, you know, it's the lower mind, as I will explain again later, but it's kind of like, it's the day-to-day, how we function in the world. And Sedna is very much the spiritual connection to everything, very similar to the Neptune energy in many ways. And so there's this kind of otherworldliness about it in some way. That's kind of how it's coming through. There's this kind of otherworldliness, kind of almost like being in the world but not in the world, or being of the world but not in it kind of thing. There's this kind of like, it feels like this, how can you put it, almost like stepping outside of the reality that you're living in into a deeper awareness of everything that you're doing, that as we're doing the day-to-day stuff, it kind of almost has like a much deeper meaning behind it, or deeper understanding coming through. But there's something, it feels like otherworldliness to me in a way. So Gemini is Mercury's home. When he's in his home, he's in the third house of communication, which covers things like our early education, the lower thinking. Did I say education twice? So third house of communication was what I meant to say if I didn't say it. And it's our early education, the lower thinking, and it's kind of the programming mind as well. It's our level of intelligence and understanding the words we use and how we use them, as well as there being two sides to every story, seeing things from both sides, duality, masculine, feminine, short journeys, the media, computers, mobile phones are all themes found within the mental flexible realm of the twins domain, which could all be disrupted during the first half of this retrograde. So here in Gemini, Mercury is at his best. He's quick thinking, quick-witted, curious and expressive. He can also be silver-tongued, and when retrograde can be a bit of a trickster or jester energy as well. So there could be, you know, it's a good idea to keep an eye out for that kind of energy, for not falling for things that seem to be like a good deal, but actually they're not. So there's also words are going to be very important during this retrograde as well. So if there's anything like that, if you are being asked to sign up for anything, like really make sure that you read the small print and don't be kind of lulled into what some silver-tongued fox might be kind of like, because there is this kind of wily side to Mercury as well, this kind of trickster, like wily energy. And yeah, words are going to be very important during this retrograde and unfolding eclipse energy with this strong Pluto trine. And also I've always said as well that, you know, words are spells because they're used to kind of like, they are emotive. Words are emotive. They give us feelings. And because of that, they can be used to kind of trap us in certain situations. if we believe what we are told by those who educate us, for instance, by our teachers, like, you know, there's teachers can influence very easily on a young child's mind, and Gemini is also to do with the child as well, like the innocent child within us. And we've all been there, we've all been that pupil in the classroom being kind of like told this is how it is, this, you know, and the words, you keep repeating something over and over and over again, and it becomes believable, or it becomes something that you just accept as well, you know, it's got to be true because that's how it's always been, kind of thing. So but there is, with this Pluto trine, also kind of a narrative or a storyline that is kind of coming to an end here, and it's closing out, and a new expressive idea is being birthed into the light as well. So something new is coming out of this, something is ending, something is closing out, something is coming to its conclusion here when it comes to the narrative, or it comes to words, or it comes to yeah, it feels like the narrative, like an ending of a certain narrative. And when Mercury moves into Taurus, the dynamic is going to change again. So conversations will be a lot more direct, even to the point of bluntness or harsh truths as well. Tough love comes to mind. Especially as from the 20th of May, Mercury will begin to square Saturn in Aquarius as well. And Saturn can be that tough love kind of energy as well. Like, get up and get on with it, you know. It's like, unless your leg's fallen off, then there's no excuse, kind of thing. You drag yourself up and you get back up on the saddle and you carry on. It's that kind of energy. But with Mercury and Saturn, there's also this kind of like very, yeah, this because it's kind of the lower mind and the higher mind as well. Being in Aquarius, Saturn in Aquarius, Aquarius being ruled by Uranus is the higher mind, and Uranus, of course, is in Saturn. So there's an interesting kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Mixture of energies, I suppose. Again, it could be like new ideas or new ways of looking at things or doing things, but also that kind of withholding it or holding it back, or maybe not even believing that it's a possibility, because Saturn is there to kind of stop that kind of like, again, that like, that's just too far out thinking kind of thing, you know. It's like, that can't be true, that's not going to work. It's like that kind of thing. Allowing ourselves to limit ourselves, allowing ourselves to stop ourselves from actually kind of pushing beyond what's possible, what's the potential in our lives, what can change in our lives here as well. On some level, kind of being our own worst enemy as well. So as a collective, we're also going to be hearing a lot in the media about inflation, food crisis, hardship, frugality, big businesses, corporations, collapsing governments, falling apart, as well as what once appeared to be written in stone, fracturing, cracking and crumbling as well. There is going to be a lot of breaking down during this period of time. So that's going to be interesting as well. There's going to be a lot of kind of breaking through as well, I feel, with this Mercury Saturn, this kind of Mercury words kind of like being very direct and very kind of, in Taurus, it can be very honest, very blunt, very like, you know, don't BS me, because I know, for instance, like, you know, somebody trying to convince you that let's say, you know, that a fish is a cat, for instance, that kind of thing, and it's like, I know you're lying, I know that you're not telling me the truth. You know, it's kind of like when somebody tries to tell you one thing because they want you to stay with that same narrative. Again, the status quo, that status quo, keeping that status quo, keeping that same energy in place. So it's kind of like breaking through that, breaking down the walls in some way as well is what I'm getting here. Breaking through the structure, breaking down the walls of things that have been holding us back, holding things back for too long. So, and mostly it's going to be focused around the themes of our finances and the banking systems in general. And we're also going to be asked to reevaluate and reprioritize what it is we value and love the most in our lives, and to focus our thoughts and our minds on whatever this means for us individually. So Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is now halfway through Aries at 15 degrees 30 minutes and is herself making a beautiful tight conjunction with the healer of our wounds, Chiron, at 14 degrees 46 minutes in the first house of the Ram. So this house governs our self-image, how we assert and project our idea of who we are out into the world around us. It is the house of Mars, the god of war, our inner warrior. So therefore it is also where we find our vitality, our courage and our drive to move forward. The first house rules the blood, the physical appearance of the body and our autonomy of the right to govern what we know as the self. What is particularly interesting is these two became exact the day before this full moon total lunar eclipse. So that's on the 15th of May. And they are conjunct the spot where Mercury casimid across the sun back in early April at 13 degrees and 10 minutes. Which also happens to be in the same area where Chiron stationed retrograde back in July 2021. And Chiron has just come out of his shadow quite recently when he crossed the 12 degrees 55 mark, 13 degrees again. So this area of Aries from the 8 degrees where Chiron retrograded back to in December of 2021 has been quite busy again as Venus started to connect with Chiron as she reached that same 8-degree point on the 9th of May. So those degrees are quite important. It's also the same degree point that Jupiter is going to be stationing retrograde at the end of July. So that 8 degrees to 16 degrees I feel is quite an important area at this time in our charts again. So again, check out where that is and which house placement for you on a personal level that's going to be manifesting itself. So already there's this kind of like, I mean, the sun, Mercury casimid across the sun, and this time because he was going forward, he was in forward motion, he casimid behind the sun, so we didn't actually get to see the see Mercury because we were on the other side of the sun. So that's when he's in forward motion, whereas when he's in retrograde motion, the Mercury and Earth are both on the same side of the sun, so we see Mercury go across the sun at that point. So that is quite an active part of the Aries sign at this time. And of course with Jupiter there as well, that's really kind of bringing that energy to life, that Aries energy, the new, the unexplored, the yeah, the kind of new creative energy, the kind of what's next energy is how I kind of feel it coming through. Yeah, so anyone with planets or points of their own natally at this position are going to have an extra active period in a powerfully healing way during this transition. Venus will be helping us all collectively to learn self-love, self-worth, self-empowerment, and to value our needs in a cleansing and clearing out what we no longer resonate with kind of style. By coming to terms with aspects of our own making during this lifetime, we can give space and room for the new parts of us to emerge, like the phoenix from the baptism of the Aries fire, such as Mercury experienced in early April, which is basically what happens when Mercury goes across the face of the sun. He experiences that baptism of fire, that cleansing, that purifying, and it's a kind of moment when our mind becomes very clear about what it is that we're experiencing, if you like, you know, what it is that we're going to do next. The ideas are fresh and new. And that's where the same degrees are at this time for this Jupiter-Chiron connection as well. So there's a very powerful point here in Aries at this time. And of course Aries is all about that, the self-determination, the ego. And Chiron is the healing center who also works through our past experiences as well, things that we could be releasing and healing are issues around our own value that have been installed in us through our early conditioning, generational habits, as well as patterns from previous incarnations, especially around the themes of money, relationships, and what we believe we deserve, because that is also the Venus energy as well within the Aries sign. So the 25 degrees of Scorpio is an X-ray photograph, helps with the diagnosis. And this symbol shows being able to see into areas or realms that others generally don't take any notice of. Maybe that's what I'm picking up with that Mercury, Saturn in Aquarius energy. There seems to be something otherworldly somehow there. So, yeah, you may find yourself looking for a deeper understanding of situations, and you need to peel away the layers in order to get to the truth of the matter. You may need to employ both the emotions and the intellect, which is that Mercury energy again, and of course the emotions is the Scorpio energy as well. Ask yourself, what do you want to find, and what is being done to reveal the structure or the nitty-gritty of situations. Looking inside for clues, being able to see through layers into the reality of things, helps you to be able to make a diagnosis. Dia, which means by, and gnosis, which means knowledge. So penetrating insight, having the eyes and the intuition to see, evaluations, photographs, radiation, X-ray vision, connecting the dots, finding causes, insight and revelations. That's very interesting because there is a lot of Neptunian revelationary energy at this time. And so the kind of more negative side of this energy is disregarding the truth, invading people's mental, physical or psychic space, being intense and meaningful, not knowing when to relax, and undressing others, which is never a good thing if it's not something that is wanted. So that's basically the astrology for at this time. I'm going to pull a wild offering card. I finally managed to remember what they're called. And we get courage. So the divine courage is not the absence of fear, but a nudge that says keep going. Do it, don't worry. All will be well. You have to get quiet enough to hear it. Dear Divine, may I feel your courage and your will. Interesting. It takes a lot of courage to even go within as well, to look within ourselves and to find what it is that we need to face up to and release and let go. That in itself takes courage. And so we also have an angel guide card here as well that I'm going to pull from. There we go. That was quick. Cards have been very quick to come out today. Again, it came out in reverse, so we'll read the reverse as well. So that's manifestation that we have here, and this is saying manifestation is the ability to bring your thoughts, dreams and intentions into reality. The spiritual law of manifestation helps us create from deep within energies and experiences that lead us toward greater fulfillment and purpose. You are blessed to have received this angel card today, for it encourages you to recognize your power. You are a master of manifestation, and whenever you focus on something with loving thoughts and the best intention, you bring that dream into reality. If you are working on bringing something to fruition at this time, whether that be a project, an opportunity, or even a miracle, this card lets you know that it is unfolding before your eyes. It's very important to stay elevated at this time and focus on positive energy, blessings and the positive events that are happening around you as you are magnetizing even more blessings into your world. And so the extended message with the reverse energy here is you are one with the universe at this time, and you have the ability to manifest incredible experiences and opportunities. You are being encouraged to understand that any new opportunities arising will allow you to step up and move forward in your life. Your energy is aligned with pure potential, and it's important to know that everything you focus on now is going to grow, adapt, and expand in line with your energy field. Your angels are encouraging you to be open and receptive as the universe is offering you the guidance, abundance, support, and healing you require. Based on your current situation, recognize the incredible gifts and support that are available to you now. The power of the universe is within you, which it is. It's within all of us. It is that lining up with our inner self. But in order to be able to get to that place, it often means we have to get rid of a lot of the negative emotions, basically, as the full moon in Scorpio is saying here. You know, if we release the negative emotions, then we come from a place of being much more aligned with what it is that we're creating and manifesting. Because even if we're manifesting, if we're focusing on the negative, then we're manifesting that energy as well. So it's time to release all of that negative energy from the past in order to be able to manifest something new and wholesome into our lives. So those are the messages that I have for you for this reading for the full moon total lunar eclipse in Scorpio. I hope that you have found some benefit in the reading. I hope that maybe you've learned something from it. If you have, please could you thumbs it up for me. The more thumbs and likes I get, the more attention the channel gets. I know that I'm only doing at this time my new and full moon collective readings, because at this time they kind of seem more relevant really than the kind of like just the sun sign readings. It's kind of there's a real intensity here at this time. I mean, the fact that I personally have a lot of intense astrology going on as well, as I kind of talk about on each of my videos, with this Saturn energy as well. So that's quite an interesting experience, shall we say, for me at this time. But I kind of feel that I need to put my energy just into this full moon and new moon reads, rather than like scattering it everywhere at this time. That's kind of how it feels. It's kind of trying to just kind of keep it on an even keel rather than having scattered energy, which is what I think is going to happen if I try to focus on too much at this time. So there is a playlist for any of you who are interested in the more personal readings. There's no times or dates on any of my readings, just titles. So if anything of it resonates with you, then please go ahead and take it as your reading. Also, for anyone who wants to subscribe to my channel, there is going to be that little subscription button. You can press that and the bell thing comes up, and it will let you know if you tap it as and when my videos are going out as well. And I will get back into doing more of the zodiac signs, sun signs themselves readings as well. But as I was saying, it just feels that at this time I need to kind of keep my focus and my attention just on this, at least for the time being. So also comment as well. If you feel like commenting on any of my videos, please leave me a comment. I don't often actually get to see the comments because I don't get notifications from them. I don't know if that's because I don't have enough viewers at this time, so YouTube just kind of passes it by. But yeah, if you leave me a comment, that would be greatly appreciated as well, because it's nice to get that feedback, because that interaction also helps to show YouTube, or like, you know, this platform basically, that I am getting some attention somehow for my videos. So with all that being said, I'm going to wish you all the best for this full moon eclipse energy. If you're in the UK and you stay up, if we get the chance to see it, it's probably worth taking the time to watch it. Yeah, hopefully, like, you know, just go with the flow of that energy. Just kind of allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and don't attach to it. Just let it come up and kind of let it go, release it. It's not really a part of you any longer, is kind of, I feel, the message for this. It's like that snake at the very beginning, kind of shedding its skin. It's like now is the time for us to be doing this on a collective level, like on a global level, of releasing all of that stuff that is no longer relevant to us, that has been kind of dragged along from the past, and that we all need to let go of in order to be able to, you know, have that fresh beginning, that new start and new growth. So I'm going to leave it there and say thank you very much. Hopefully I will see you all again soon, and please take really good care of yourselves.